Hello, hello everyone. Um, yeah, so, well, thanks for being here this late. So today I will report on some very interesting research that we've been doing at 20 Squares, and that was backed by the Ethereum Foundation, on Ethereum issuance. So just a heads up, this topic is very complex and technical. I'll try to keep it accessible for a general audience. There will be, so there will be a pretty heavy technical part at the start, but then I'll tell you what the conclusions are, okay? And it's based on my awesome colleague's work, Eric, and you can go and read the complete blog post, or we also have a post on ETH Research about this. So if you're interested in getting the full picture. So actually, this is part one, this blog post of a two-part series. Basically we use a stock and flow model, and don't worry if you don't know what a stock and flow model is. I'll give a high-level explanation of the Ethereum staking dynamics, and we'll look at three possible future issues for Ethereum, or future concerns for Ethereum that are obviously related to Ethereum issuance, or that we expect Ethereum issuance to have an effect on, like changes to it. The first one is runaway staking, so the scenario in which, like the tendency towards like having near 200% of the ETH staked, and this is obviously an undesirable scenario. The second one is excessive inflation, which has been kind of the most discussed point around MVI and in general Ethereum issuance. A lot of people are concerned for their bags. And the third one is governance centralization, and by that I mean the scenario in which basically the Ethereum staker set becomes an oligopoly, okay, highly dominated by a very restricted amount of economic parties. So I'm not talking about security like in the last talk, so a large number of nodes, but I'm talking about a small number of economic agents, quote unquote. Actually, this blog post and today's talk will only be focused on runaway staking, but I warmly invite you to go and wait for the second post that's coming out somewhere down the line. Now, what is a stock and flow model, and what is the model we're looking at? So this picture is not very clear right now, but I'll walk you through it. This is a kind of accurate, picture of the Ethereum staking model. So a stock and flow model is, so you can imagine it as a bunch of like bags or tanks containing some liquid, and the flows are actually the laws that determine how this liquid flows between the various stocks or tanks. So in this case, these circles are the stocks we're talking about, so these are basically the complete amount of ether that were ever minted. Okay, so U here is the unstaked ether, S is the staked ether, and O is the inaccessible ether. So either burned or the key was lost, yada yada. So these flows are, well, so first thing, as you can see, this is not really a closed system because there's this I that comes out of nothing, and this is basically the inflationary part of Ethereum. So it's issuance. Okay. Then this F is the like transaction fees. Okay. plus MEV if you want to take this into account. It's the same thing if you consider it or not. It's just a couple of numbers change, but it's not relevant. Q plus is a new stake entering the validator set. Q minus is unstaking, and R is reinvestment by already existing stakers. Right now, if you want to reinvest, you basically spin up a new validator, but after Electra, with increases to the max effective balance, you can just increase your effective balance, and I mean, it will be easier to do reinvestment. Reinvestment is particularly important for all these kinds of, discourse around issuance and runaway staking. This B arc, or this B flow, is basically the ether that get burned. Just classic EIP 1559 burn, and the J is slashing. So actually, this is not the complete picture, because there should be another small tank, which is a subset of U, which let's call it V. It's the subset of unstaked ETH, which is validator rewards, and F should actually go from U to V, and R should go from V to S, because it's validator rewards, the reinvestment. In this picture, it's a bit more accurate. This is a table of all the flows. By the way, all these flows are moving averages over like spot values at a given block, maybe quarterly. I mean, pick a time frame that makes sense. We, in our research, use the quarterly moving average. And these flows are obviously subject to some constraints in order to make sense. This is not the complete picture, because I mean, there's no constraints. Just to make a small example, a very easy and reasonable one is the first one on transaction fees. It's that like the base fees that get burned plus the priority fees equal the transaction fees, and they have to be, the transaction fees have to be less than all the unstaked ether, otherwise it doesn't make sense. The model, it's not realistic. By the way, here I have left a footnote. So validator rewards is actually this set V, which is a subset of U. Okay, so we're almost done with the technical part, but this is the model we used. There is some things that are not showing up, actually. I don't know why they're not showing up here in these slides. On my computer, they showed up. There have to be actually dots on top of E, A, O, V, U, V, and S, which are the time derivatives. So this is an honest-to-God dynamical system. So E, in this case, sorry if you can see the derivatives, is the like all ether ever like minted, and the idea is the derivative. So the net change in the amount of ether that gets minted is actually the minting, the inflationary part. Great, you can see the derivatives. By the way, another remark is that we are ignoring willfully EIP 7514, which was added in the NEB, which poses an upper limit. So it's an EIP about churn rate. Okay, an upper limit on like new stake plus reinvestment. We choose to ignore it, and other symmetric limits on like staking and unstaking to show what would happen in absence of such limits, but we'll get back to this EIP. So this was actually put in place to mitigate the runaway staking scenario. Okay, so like high percentages of ether that get staked at any given point. Let's make some more assumptions. This is the last technical slide. Well, we're making some assumptions on this small y, which is issuance yield. The first one is that issuance is sublinear, and this is in order to avoid what are called discouragement attacks. If you don't know a lot about it, I suggest you go and read Vitalik's paper about discouragement attacks, and this is an important, actually an important portion of why matters around issuance and runaway staking are a bit complicated. And also that, I mean, doing this averaging I was talking about of staking yield over like a reasonable period is not substantially altered by, I mean, it doesn't substantially alter the value you would see by just looking at spot for yield, okay? I mean, these are reasonable assumptions, but we need these to work. So how did we actually run this model and analyze it? Well, we built a very nice piece of software. It's a library in Python. It's called Ethode. Actually, you can go and, I mean, it's open. And it's basically an very, very light, actually, wrapper that keeps track of all the units and has some niceties for modeling economic, like macroeconomics of Ethereum. And it's a wrapper around a like normal differential equation solver. It's nothing very fancy, but I mean, we firmly believe that Ethereum macroeconomics in general is better studied with this kind of like looking at it under the lenses of dynamical systems, and so we built some software to go with it. Please go and use it if you're interested in looking into this stuff. Now, the non-technical part, okay? Or I mean, the takeaways from the model we actually came up with and studied. So the first one is that in order to avoid runaway staking, we have identified this, let's call it a discipline, a general idea on how to go about this, which is keep a medium reinvestment rate, keep low inflation, and keep even lower fees. And without this, basically, convergence to a desirable future without non-super long-term runaway staking is basically unlikely. So, yeah, why though? Okay, let's analyze a couple of scenarios. So, in case of strong deflation, in which like deflation exceeds the reinvestment rate of transaction fees, this creates very unstable dynamics, and having zero or weak deflation, basically the tendency towards runaway staking can be controlled only by high churn rate or slashing, which is highly undesirable, so we don't want that. So medium reinvestment rate, low inflation, even lower fees. Remember this. Okay, so but now for, I guess, the interesting question of this talk. Oh, well, first. Okay. One remark. So runaway staking can be avoided only while inflation is at the same time low enough that like concerns over inflation do not dominate reinvestment of profits, but at the same time high enough not to be dominated by the reinvestment of priority fees and MEV. So yeah, it's this low but not too low. So the key takeaway of it is, should we reduce issuance? This has been like a very discussed topic for Pectra, yeah, the short answer is no. Let's not touch it. This is very delicate. Okay. If you want a longer answer, or if you want to know that, well, maybe I'm really concerned about inflation, though. Maybe in a model in which EIP 7514, so the max churn rate is there, do we have, I mean, does this pose a solution to the problem? Not really, but it doesn't really try to be a solution in the long term, just a short-term solution, so like over small time horizons. But in general, reducing issuance doesn't solve it either. From our analysis, you can go on the Ethod repo. There's a nice tutorial on how to use it, and also read the blog post. And I mean, you can observe and see for yourself that this is actually the case. And basically, this L2-centric future that's been discussed a lot, in which near 100% of the Ether is staked, and it's mostly used for settlement of L2s, it's kind of baked in. Because just to come back to the discouragement attacks thing I mentioned in the start, like persistent inflation cannot sustain under such an issuance curve that is designed to avoid discouragement, so sublinear and stuff like that. But if you're still curious, maybe you can use Ethod or whatever other software or approach you like to study this kind of macroeconomics questions, and maybe adjust a bit and simulate the constants in EIP 7514, and maybe you will manage to decouple the reinvestment part from the new stake part to avoid possible scenarios in which the reinvestment rate is too low, because remember, medium reinvestment rate. So, I mean, maybe something will come out of it. So, yeah, thank you for attending this talk, and yeah.